I started in law enforcement in 1995. I was an officer in Logan, and so my first experience was as a reserve officer, which is not a paid position in 1995. In 96, I was hired by Logan City and was able to get a job and move up through the ranks there. And so I've, 22 plus years is what I have in law enforcement. And in '05, I was recruited by the sheriff then, Rick Hawkins, to come back home to the Uintah Basin and be a sheriff's deputy. And then was able to work as a detective with the sheriff's office and work with the CJC and all of those fun things that we've done. And then the chief for Vernal City recruited me to come over to Vernal City, and so I went there, and I've gone through detectives and working at the schools, and now I'm a sergeant with Vernal PD. Oh, that's a tough question, but I think the best answer to that is I feel like I can do the job the best out of the two people that are putting in for sheriff this year. I have a bigger city experience as an officer. I have the small town experience with here in the Uintah Basin. I grew up in the Uintah Basin, and so I know what the people here like. I know what the attitudes here are. I'm friends with a lot of the ranching, farming community, the oil community. My sons work in the oil field, and so with rodeo and the schools, having worked in the schools, I'm very comfortable here in the Uintah Basin and what we need in law enforcement. And so I think my experience with that will help me a lot in being sheriff and what the community wants here as far as their policing and me as a sheriff. The sheriff needs to be a manager for one. He's going to manage over 40 corrections employees. He has 22 deputies that are on the road or in investigations or supervisors. And so he's got to be able to manage all of those people and know what their needs are, and then have them be able to communicate with the public and perform the services that we need as a sheriff's office. And so we need somebody that can negotiate and talk with county commission for budgets, the public. We have, obviously we've got to be good with Ballard because we're providing services for Ballard, all the outlying areas from Jensen to Ballard to Tridell and La Pointe, all of our rural areas. We've got to effectively be there and police in those areas, and I know that's a huge concern for a lot of people in our community is we're not out in those outlying areas enough. And so one of the things I'm going to develop is a citizens board from all of those outlying areas in our community, and we'll meet once a quarter and discuss the issues that we need to do better as a sheriff's office in their part of the county. And I feel that that's going to bring a lot of unity to our county, and we'll be able to provide a lot better services in that part of the county. So I think those are some of the biggest things that a sheriff has to do. Obviously, on top of managing a budget and being able to work within a budget, and with times being tough and we're all trying to work within a budget and have a decent job, it's the sheriff's got to manage that budget so that the public isn't overburdened in paying more taxes. My opponent's a great guy. I don't want to say anything bad about him. He, I'm sure, can do the job just fine. I think that our biggest differences is, like I said before, I have a vast array of experience in dealing with bigger city issues, small town issues. I'm from here. I know a lot of the community and have policed here long enough that I'm very comfortable here. I'm a supervisor currently with the city and am up to date on the issues that are happening in our community with the drugs and domestic violence and all the issues that we have. And so I think my training experience is probably what throws me above and beyond my opponent. And I believe that my people skills and dealing with the public will show when I get in office, and we will be able to work through budgets and not be arguing and fighting. I think the sheriff's office will run very smooth. I think people will be happy to work there. I want to bring good employees in. I think recruiting and retention is very important for us in this time. We're having a lot of issues with that in law enforcement right now, and being able to retain our employees and recruit new employees. We're losing them to the Wasatch Front because they're paying upfront money, they're paying more an hour. The retirement benefits changed a few years ago, and so that's made it difficult for us to recruit people. People don't want to do this job anymore. You know, with the national issues that we've had, bad publicity, bad decisions by some officers, frankly, have made it so that not everybody wants to be a police officer. And so if you have a good office that people want to be at, they're getting a decent pay that they can live on, support their family on, then I think I can do that for this office and this community and provide the service that we all want and appreciate. That's a really hard question. You don't just come into an organization and just make a bunch of changes. I'm gonna have to look at our needs and what's required of the department at that time. I mean, it's 6-7 months away before I would take office, and so I'm not gonna come in and fire people, obviously, but there may be some movement in the organization if that's what's required at that time. And obviously we're probably still going to be trying to recruit people, and it's kind of a fluid situation in law enforcement right now. People are changing professions, they're going to other agencies, and so I'm going to have to hire new people, and that'll be one of the changes that always occurs in an organization. But as far as major changes, I don't see any major changes. We have some things that are going on with the jail right now that need to be addressed. The state inmates that are there right now, the majority of them are sex offenders, and the state has set a program up that they have to go through a pre-sex offender training. It's called programming that they have to go through before they go back to the state prison. And the state has made it so that our jail doesn't have the drug treatment program because those inmates are here for a specific reason. And so they'll go through that program. And so some of our local inmates that we have at the jail, they're very transient. And so I know it's been spoken before about having a drug treatment program in the jail itself. All of those programs have to be approved by the state and the state prison. And so we can't just make up a program and put it into our jail facility. That just doesn't happen. I would love to have an actual rehab in the jail, but that's not possible right now because of the state, not something that the county's doing. I know that it's wanted in our jail right now, and we need it, frankly. Some of our local inmates that we have, it's kind of a revolving door. We have people there that are very short timers, from hours to maybe a few weeks, and at the most maybe 90 days is what they're being sentenced to, according to the judges that I've spoke to and at the jail itself and the courts. When I've spoken to them, we aren't keeping people more than about 90 days, and it's typical to be there about 2 weeks. So if you're only in our facility for 2 weeks, we really don't have time to put you through a drug treatment program necessarily. We have time to detox you. And so I feel like we need to improve our detox situation. It's improving now. We have a doctor that's at the facility or at the disposal of the jailers all the time. There's nurses there that are on call or at the facility all the time checking on these people so that we don't have any situations that go bad. And so to have a drug treatment facility at our jail at this point isn't really feasible. It's going to be a huge burden on the taxpayers to have that facility, and we're going to be treating state inmates, not our local folks that need it. it. We need those programs to come from family members, from our churches, and other community organizations like Northeastern Counseling and such, so that our local people get the help that they need, because our state's mandating what we can have in our jails at this point.